Welcome back, everybody. This is week 2 of our 2023 Christmas project Christmas chair. I'll get that right eventually. And this week we're working on a relatively another simple card. And I've got a few done and then a few I'm going to work on you with. This is using this tag here from the paper pad from week 1, episode 1. As well as some new materials. We've got some sparkly paper here in the background that I will list in the comments. Here's our second one. And I don't think the camera's picking it up, but this is a brushed metallic navy blue cardstock behind this top layer. And it's really pretty in person, but I don't think the camera's going to pick that up. This is another shiny silver paper in the background of this one. And this is a brushed metallic, I believe it's the brushed metallic, with an embossing folder and then a Merry Christmas die cut on top. And these two are the same. This was my favorite one of the ones that I finished for week 2. But we've got some others, and you can tell me what your favorite is if you want when we get to the end here. We'll put together a few. Let's see. This one's different. We'll just start with this one. This was just kind of with some leftover pieces, parts that I had. And here's that brushed navy metallic again. It is so pretty in person. It's a shame because I'm sure the camera's not picking up just how gorgeous that is. But it's really pretty. And then this was just a piece of navy blue cardstock, and then I spritzed it with some of my homemade, what do you call it? I don't know. I can't think of the word. But anyway, you can see I didn't do a very good job, which is why we're going to cover up most of it because my spritzer got clogged and it just kind of streamed out all over everywhere. And then another one of those die cuts. This was a thinner paper, so I actually cut out 2 and layered them together, which I've already glued them together just to give it a little extra body. So we'll put this one together. And we're going to start with get our glue here. Make sure I don't have any clogs on the end. I'm just going to glue the back of this really well. Now you can use tape if you prefer, or a tape runner, whatever adhesive product you have that you like to use will work just fine. And kind of center this on here. And we've got a few seconds to kind of try and get it lined up pretty good. So we'll set this on here. It's not quite big enough, but it'll do the trick. And then we're going to glue. Now I've debated, should I die cut this piece and make it a little fancier around the edges, but I just feel like it's okay the way it is. Yeah, we're just going to do it the way it is. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back of this. Just get this stuck down good. And we'll try to get this centered. Or roughly centered. Could go over a little more. It's not quite right. That's pretty close. So I'll let that weight down. Somewhere here I've got some tweezers. And just going to pinch this here, so start gluing the back. Now even with this really fine tip nozzle, I have trouble keeping the glue where it's supposed to be. just because, probably because I don't really have any depth perception. It's an eye thing I've had since I was little. Well, since I was born, really. So for me, it's normal, but it does make it hard. I can't really tell sometimes how close I am to the paper. So just, oopsie, I keep running right off the edge. Just trying to get a little bit of glue here and there, just enough to hold this down securely. So I like to get the outer edges, the tips, put a little bit more up there. This takes me so long that I feel like it starts to dry. Okay, I think that's probably good enough. And I just kind of want to center this on here as best I can. Yep. Yeah, kind of made a mess with my glue there. But it's supposed to dry clear, so we'll see. Because you can see I got a lot of it down here. All right, we're going to set that off to the side. And we'll go to our next one. So this is again that brushed navy. And this time I'm going to glue it on the back of this piece. So I just kind of like to figure out where it goes. As I could have cut it a little bit bigger and I would have had a little bit more room, but I wasn't measuring accurately apparently because I didn't mean to cut it so close. And I think the glue might have a hard time drying because of the brushed metallic finish on this. So I'm trying to get a little bit extra without getting too much, but I can tell I'm probably getting way more than I need. I just need enough to hold it till I glue it to the back. Oops. So I'm going to come this way just a bit. Let that dry for a minute. Come back and take, yeah, see, I didn't get that. Well, it's still wet, so just trying to kind of remove some of that excess glue there. And when it dries, hopefully it will be clear. So as you can see, I kind of like the contrast to that one. It's not super fancy and it probably needs a little bit something extra, but we'll figure that out. Put a little bit more on the back of here. And a little bit more under there. I think I'm going to get another block. Get my big block. Set that right there. All right, so hopefully this is fairly dry. And I got some glue on my mat. Somewhere. Oh, here. I'm just going to use this to get up a little bit of that glue. If I'd cut that a little bit bigger, I would not have had to glue in the center. I could have just glued around the outside edges, but once it's cut, it's cut. You can make them smaller, but you can't make them bigger. Okay. So now we're just going to glue that onto there. Yeah, I got a little fuzzy. So little bit more on the outside because I really want to sandwich that in there. Shimmer Mist. That was the spray I was trying to think of a while ago. It's a homemade shimmer mist I made, but my squirt bottle's not perfect. Whoa. There we go. So it's it gets kind of clogged up on me. Give that a second to dry. And looks like I could use a little more glue in these corners. So, give it a little more there. Looks like this edge wants to come up a little bit, so give it a little more there. I guess I could have done a better job gluing those edges, but we'll get it. Okay, so we're going to glue this on here. Just a little. Slide that over. Alrighty. Set that for there for a second. And let's see if we go back to this one. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, oh, maybe some snowflakes. I've got all these snowflakes here that I cut out. That one's a little on the big side. Let's see. I think a lighter colored one would be nice. Get that one completely poked out. There we go. What do we think? That's, and then maybe one of these. Oh yeah, that looks nice. It adds a little extra to it. Let's get our tweezers here. We'll just put a little bit of glue. So earlier this week, earlier this week I spent a day cutting out hundreds of snowflakes and all different shades of blues. For some reason, I know that red and green are the traditional Christmas colors, but for me, I really like the cool blues in Christmas decorations. To me, it just reminds me, I think, of living in Alaska and the cool crispness of the winters up there, which I really loved. Although it's really cold here now in Arkansas, but actually it's probably colder out here now than it is in Alaska, but it's really wet, so it feels really cold. All right. Let's trade that out for that one. Slide that over. And let's put a Christmas wish on here. So I did these yesterday. And they're just some embossed tags. I used a couple Merry Christmas stamps, and then one of my punches from Stampin' Up. My supplies come from a little bit of everywhere, so I do not just stick to one supplier. I use what I like, and wherever that may, or whatever that may be. So I think we need a little bit of, well, I put my ribbon away. Let's see. Well, I don't want to dig the ribbon back out, so maybe I should just ink around it, but I could just leave it. That's the same color, so I don't want that one. That's not really going to show up. Yeah, I think I'll just put that on there, but let's use some dimensionals to give a little bit of height. Let's see, I've got one that I was already using. And again, you can get these kind of supplies. It's just a double-sided sticky foam. You can get them from anywhere. Even some of the dollar stores have them. Or you can get a roll of tape, a foam tape that's double-sided, and run a strip of tape on the back if that's more to your liking. I just use whatever's closest usually, which may or may not be a good thing, because I'm definitely being lazy about the ribbon. Now that's got me thinking I need to go get my ribbon. I wish I had something a little bit, oh, I do. Let's see how this looks. This was a leftover Christmas ribbon that never got used. And what if I just cut a little curly or two and stuck it behind there? Of course, it won't be curly when it gets where it's going, but that's okay, because the envelope will flatten it out and everything. But let's just see what this does. I may regret this. Let's put it on here first. So it's got a little more curl in this end than it does the other end. So I'm just going to kind of, since I've got these double stick dimensionals on the back, I'm just going to kind of push them down into that, and we're just going to get a really organic look to this. And I'm going to add some more glue now because I've got all this ribbon and not as much in the dimensionals. I want to make sure I put it on right side up. So yeah, well, that's okay where it's at, I guess. I'm just going to push that down really well. And I think, yeah, I've got a little bit of frayed edge here. There we go. Just going to cut that off at an angle. There, it's different. I'm not sure I love it, but I don't hate it. And that blue definitely stands out. So if that goes flat, it would look more like that. No, I like it curled. There we go. All right, so there's that one. Now just to put a sentiment on the inside and my name on the back. All right, so let's see. I think we decided we're finished with this one. So that's 2. And some of these I'm intentionally making a little less sparkly than I would like, just because some of them are going to men, and I don't know that they necessarily like all the glam, the glitz and glam, the bling. That's the word I want, bling. All right, so let's move on to this one. Now this one is essentially the same as this one, except it doesn't have that extra top mat. So that's the big difference there. So we're going to glue this down. And again, I could have cut these a little bit bigger. I didn't leave myself enough room, really. I just really need to tack it down long enough to be able to tack it down to the card base. So I don't really have to over glue it, I guess. And this is again a silver metallic. And slide it down a little bit. Oh. Okay, let's let that dry. And we'll figure out a sentiment for that. I think some of these didn't come out very well. They're a little bit thick toward the wishes part. I don't know if I was putting too much pressure or what, but the wishes got thicker than the Christmas. So we'll try. You'll use one of these. See if we can get this down and dry. Yeah, it moved on me, so it's not straight anymore. But it's still just wet enough that I can slide it. And I only say straight because it does have some very visible lines on there. It's coming up on me. Dang it. There, got that pretty good right off the bat. So, what are we going to put under this one? I was cleaning my craft room a little bit yesterday because it's such a mess. I can't find anything. Well, I've got this. That's kind of pretty. It's easy to get to. So, let's clean. So I'm feeling like I don't think it'll sit right there in the center, will it? Not very well. All right, so let's just cut off a piece of this. And there's no measuring, or, I didn't measure. I'm just going to figure out a way to make that work. Again, I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of here. Oh, okay. This one I really messed up, forgot my embossing buddy. Even though I tried to scrape it off, it just didn't work. So I just did it again on the other side. Let's get out some dimensionals. get one more on there. All right, so I'm going to see here. Just kind of do a loose, well, maybe. It's been folded, so it doesn't want to take on this generic fold that I'm trying to force it into. Yeah, that's cute. It looks like an M for Mary. All right, so try to hold that still. Take off the backing of my dimensionals. All right. Let's see here. Let's just start here. There we go. And I do want to trim this edge. It's pretty frayed. All right, so let's add some glue here to the top of the ribbon. We'll just give this a little, I want to go below that center snowflake. It's going to kind of cover it up a little bit. Yeah, I think that's okay. Just glue that down. Give that a quick press. And then we will move on to this last one. There, I actually really like that. Probably could use some more pressing just to make sure that glue gets dry. We'll set that off to the side there. All right, so this one looks like these, well, yeah, this one, which was my favorite. And so for it, I used a die in the background, and then I actually, instead of wasting all of that space, because you weren't going to see it anyway, I cut that out, and I was able to get 2 more sizes, smaller frames. So here's one that I'll be able to cover up and lay something on, and then this one would look good with a sentiment on it. So I did that for all 3 of those to get a little bit extra mileage out of my, what do you want to call that? What is that called? That is called the border, or not border, layer. It's a back layer. I'm sorry, I apologize. My memory really took a hard hit a few years ago. I was sick and I had a treatment that really impacted my memory. I'm just going to kind of get that where I want it. And then I'm going to cheat a little bit and lift it up. And glue it down. Give that a chance to set. Set that over there. And then I'll flip it around carefully so I don't move it in the meantime, which I think I did. That, or I just didn't have it as straight as I thought I did. That's probably more like it because it's glued. So then I just pick it up, add some more glue, and glue down the other end. Now this Merry Christmas is out of a different paper. It's actually a glitter cardstock, and it probably came from Joann's, but it might have come from Michael's. Those are the only two options, I believe, for that. And I'm leaning toward Joann's because I tend to buy a lot of their cardstock when they have their 5 for $1 sale. Is that right? So, and that's usually around the major holidays. But anyway, if you can see the glitter on that. So it's a little bit thicker, so I didn't have to double up on it, although I could have. And before I glue that down, I'm going to glue this to the back, to the card base. This is embossed, so there's some high spots and low spots, and I'm just trying to hit the high spots with the glue. And I think that looks pretty good. Come up, oop. All right, set that on there for a second. Come back to this one now that it should be securely glued down. And I really do like the way that ribbon looks on there. It's subtle, but it's got a little bit of sheen. So while that's drying, we can glue the back of our Merry Christmas sentiment. And I'm going to start in the middle this time because I can get the glue thicker there because of the writing is a little bit thicker than the flourishes. And I'm just gluing, trying to get it on all the thick parts of the lettering as well as the outer edges. Try not to get this to move around so much. Isn't that pretty though? I just think that's stunning. And we'll lay that down on there. That's actually, is that a different color? No, it's the same color. All right, so while that's drying, I'm going to hang my ribbon back up for future use. And we're going to grab our labels and our butterflies. I'll put my pen back in my glue because I don't need any more of that, I don't think. All right, is that dry? I'll give it a little bit more here. A little hand press. It's a little more difficult because of the embossing in the background. Just wanting to come up there too. I might put a little touch more glue under that. I'll just hold that for a second or two or 3. Maybe I won't start with that one since it's still trying to dry. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to put our sticker on the back, and this is strictly up to you. It's not something that's necessary. I do spend a lot of time thinking about these, usually a lot more time on the front end before I ever start making one than I do on the back end. So I do like to put my information on there, but that's not necessary. And you can find stamps that are available that say handcrafted by or handmade or whatever. I like a label because it's faster, and I actually can honestly get it straighter more often than not. So, got dried glue everywhere now. So, Handmade for You by Georgiana Franks, 2023 Expressions Craft Studio. And my little remembrance, my nod to my mother. Oh, let's put that on top of that other one. Let's see here. So, let's do this guy. Ooh, what did I get all over the back of that? Well, it's a good thing it's on the back. That's interesting. I wonder what that is. Sometimes these lift right off for me, and other times I need a pokey tool to get them to release from the backing paper. So, dig out my little handmade pokey tool, which is just a mechanical pencil with a needle in it, a sewing needle, hand sewing. Gosh, I wish I knew what I did there. Set that off to the side. Oh, actually, we'll set that up there. Let me grab this guy. So you don't really need to watch all of this if you don't want to. If you haven't seen my previous videos, though, while I'm doing this, I'll kind of go in and give you a little bit of background as to why I'm making Christmas cards already in January. I haven't been able to fulfill my own personal commitments to the Angel Card Project the last 2 years because of a move and just, you know, various things. But Angel Card Project offers cards to people who are struggling and need a little bit of extra help at the holidays. Or they do other holidays as well. It's not just the Christmas holidays, but Christmas is what I generally work toward. And the first year I did it, I was able to send out 100 cards, and I was really pleased with myself. And I didn't make all of those. Some of them were purchased, some of them that were left over from prior years. But this last year, they were all handmade, and I only got 60 done. And my goal at the beginning of the year was to do one a day for the whole year so that I would have 365 cards to send out. But because I was still working on my craft room the first part of last year and trying to organize everything, it took me longer than I'd hoped, and I didn't get as many done as I wanted. So this year I've got an early start. Started the first week of January. And so far I'm actually way ahead of schedule because my first week's cards, which are in the week 1 videos, I did 24 cards, I think. And this one, I haven't counted these yet, but I'm guessing there's somewhere between 5 and 10. And these are just little vinyl butterflies that I cut out with my Cricut. And I will see if I can share the link to this file in probably my group. I don't know if I can share it in my just the regular Facebook page. If anybody wants it, and you can certainly use whatever color vinyl you want, but Yellow's was my mother's favorite, and it's funny, I've never liked yellow. She's always tried to, as a kid, to dress me in yellow or pink, and I didn't like either one of those colors. I was such a tomboy, and it wasn't really until she passed away that I gained a true appreciation for yellow. So now, and she was a very crafty person as well. So I try to give her a little nod with every card I make to remember my mother. We had as probably a lot of mother-daughter relationships. Sorry, I keep moving off screen, I think. You know, our relationship was kind of cantankerous, is that the word? And that's not probably the right word. Difficult. It was difficult at times, but in the end, she spent 15 years living with me and my husband, and I honestly thought she'd have another 15, and that she'd be here with us retired, and that we'd be able to travel all she wanted. But the Lord had different plans for my mother, and I know she's much happier where she's at because she's with my father again. He passed away right after I turned 12, and that was a long time ago, let me tell you. And she never remarried, never even entered into a relationship with anybody else. She stayed loyal to him all through the years, and so I know she's happy to be where she's at with her parents, her husband, her grandparents, whom she absolutely adored. And I know someday they'll all be waiting there for me. So I'm sad that we didn't have more time with her, but I'm glad that she's where she would rather be. Okay, well, that was kind of maudlin. Sorry about that. Anyway, I started telling you about the Angel Card Project, which there will be a link in the comments below. The Angel Card Project is run by Mark Suter, I think is his name, and they take in names for people who need a little extra Christmas cheer. Maybe it's a widow or widower, or a family who's struggling for whatever reason. And they give you the opportunity to mail cards to people that you might want to help cheer up. And this past year I donated, because I was so short of time, I literally mailed them out the last week, the Christmas week. I sent them to, one of them went to a nursing home and the other went to a veteran's home. So I got 40 cards in one box and 20 in another, and just sent them that way. But you can pick out whoever you want to send them to. If you, oh, don't know who that was. Apologize for that. I never get calls, so I didn't think to turn it off. Anyway, you know, it comes in an Excel spreadsheet, and I think there's probably a couple other formats, but I use the Excel spreadsheet, and you can sort it by name, location, you know, however you want to do it. And you can decide if you want to mail to everybody or if you just want to mail to a handful of people. It's up to you. Maybe you prefer to send to children, or I like veterans and I like children, and I like people when I read their story, because they'll give you a little bit of a description about why they think this person could use a little help, and or a little cheer. You don't have to send help. I mean, you don't have to include money or gifts or anything. You can if you choose to, but you do not have to. Anyway, I kind of pick the stories that relate to me, or that that speak to me. But because I was so short on time this year, I didn't really get a chance to go through the list, which had well over 1,000 names on it. So it's getting bigger every year, I think. But anyway, here's our final cards, and I've got 3 that are the same. And aren't those lovely? That really is my favorite card so far this year. I just think that's gorgeous. And then we've got a couple like that. Let's see, there's that one, and then this one. There's only one of those, which I like. Let's see, this one's a little different than these two. So there we go. And I meant to count those while I was doing that. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 9 to add to my 24. That makes 33 cards. And today is, I think it's the 12th. Yes, today's the 12th. So I've already got, what did I say? 33 cards, and we're only on the 12th. So I am well ahead of schedule. So those are my cards for week 2, 2023 Project Christmas Cheer. So stick with me, and I've already got some worked up for week 3. I'm actually a little ahead of schedule. That's what I was working on yesterday, and I should have been finishing these, but we'll get those done, and I won't finish them. I'll get with you to show you what I'm working on. But basically, it's kind of a return to our first week, which was the stack cut shuffle. Except this time, it's still the stack cut shuffle, but instead of 4 even squares, it's in diagonal, 3 diagonal pieces of 3 different papers. So it's a little different, but a little the same. And it's going to have a completely different look to it, though. So that's going to be in week 3, and I should be able to get that video out much earlier than I have these last 2. So hopefully Sunday or Monday is my goal anyway, to get that out. And I think I created 11 more cards with that one. So that will take my total from 33 to 44. And we're only going to be at the start of week 3 in January. So I'm really ahead of schedule, and I'm loving that. And because, things come up, sometimes you can't get to it. So I'm really excited. I hope you'll stick with me and watch my journey. I'm going to try different card styles and formats, and I'll list the supplies that I know the names and locations for in the description box. But some of the stuff, I've just had some of this stuff for so long, or I've gotten my supplies from different locations. So it's going to be hard to, there won't be a whole lot of actual links in there, but I'll do what I can. Anyway, thank you again for joining me. I hope you'll stick with me. I really do plan to make this whole year all about card making, not just for the Angel Card Project, but my other project that I want to make cards for is Cards for Soldiers. And that is where you make cards and they get sent to the soldiers to send back to their loved ones, their kids, their spouses, their parents, for Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas, whatever. So that's those. Some of these cards will be going to that. Anything without glitter, you can't send them anything with glitter. But that's where some of my cards will go. So I hope you'll stay tuned, and again, follow me on this journey, because I'm really excited about it. And I'd love to hear what you guys think. If you have ideas or suggestions, anything you want to see, or particular technique. I mentioned in the first video that I'm trying to start with much simpler cards and work up to more elaborate cards as I go. I don't actually have like a schedule of what cards I'm going to be working on. I'm just kind of winging it. Let's be honest, I'm winging it. That's what I'm doing. So, that may or may not actually be how the plan unfolds, but that is my plan. So, and I'm just using what I have. I'm not buying any extra supplies. If I buy anything at all, it'll be extra cardstock for the bases. Everything else I already have. I'm an avid collector of craft supplies, as many of us are, and so I shouldn't need to buy anything. We will see. I've also got some Christmas fabrics that I hope to incorporate at a later date. So I really hope you'll stay with me, because I'm really, really excited to see what we can come up with. And like I said, I'd love to see your ideas. So thanks again. Thanks for hanging out with me, spending time with me. If I can figure out how to make this thing go live instead of recorded, I will. I tried this morning and it was a no-go. So I gave up and just said, let's just get this done. So anyway, lots of changes coming, hopefully. And anyway, thanks again. I know I ramble. I've said before I should be called the Rambling Crafter. the disorganized crafter, you name it. You can think of a lot of adjectives, but they all work for me. So anyway, thanks again. I will see you next week, hopefully.